Well, guys, like I've always told you, when it comes to Angel Reese, it's never about basketball. A lot of people want to go outside the lines. The latest person that went outside the lines was RGIII. Ryan Clark clapped back at him. And then Stephen A. Smith gets involved and he straight buries RG3. But we're going to unpack all that here next, here on the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Well, guys, man, in the world of sports, when it comes to Angel Reese, nobody ever seems to keep it basketball when they're talking about this young lady. And it's all kinds of narratives out there about Angel Reese that are unfortunate. And when things happen, everybody always wants to paint a narrative in a negative light about Angel Reese. Now, the WNBA season kicked off. The Indiana Fever and the Chicago Skies played. And in that game, in the third quarter, there was a hard foul committed on Angel Reese by Caitlin Clark. They went to the monitor. They upgraded the foul to a flagrant foul. And they got everything under wraps. Angel Reese got a technical foul. Leah Boston got a technical foul. Caitlin Clark got a technical foul. But also her foul got upgraded to a flagrant foul, penalty 1. And after that game, Robert Griffin III, RG3, made it a point to go to his Twitter and tweet out something that took the internet by storm. Took social media by storm. Whatever RG3 was trying to do, he got what he wanted. But in the midst of all that, the things that he said about Angel Reese clearly hates Caitlin Clark, and it ain't even about basketball. See, that's what I go to tell you guys. When it comes to Angel Reese, nobody can keep it basketball. They're always painting these narratives. Now, this got a lot of layers to it. Because in the midst of what RG3 said, Ryan Clark came back on the Pivot podcast and read RG3 a new asshole. Well, ripped him a new asshole. Not read him a new asshole. He ripped him a new asshole. And with the midst of that, by Ryan Clark clapping back at RG3, RG3 made it a point to go back on his podcast and try to play victim. He tried to play victim on his podcast after he tweeted out something disingenuous about Angel Reese. Now, if you tweet out something disingenuous about Angel Reese, you got to stand on it. And now you want to be on your podcast playing victim. And RG3 said some things in his little rant when he tried to play victim on his podcast about Ryan Clark attacking his family, and he crossed the line. Now we got Stephen A. Smith that weighed in on the situation. And Stephen A. Smith did not hold no punches. Stephen A. Smith got straight down to business. And he spoke and told basically RG3 to his face as he pointed on camera that you know you're wrong, my brother. Now, this is what has transpired. Now, let's take a listen to what Stephen A. Smith said on how he just buried RG3 in the most respectful way. But before we do that, let's take a look at a clip of a tweet that Ryan Clark put out there. And this is what Ryan Clark said. Ryan Clark said, bruh, you know what it is with me and you. I saved your entire season on Monday Night Football. I urged people to let you be you, no matter how corny, how bad of a teammate you were, I had your back. What did you do? Invite someone on your show you know I don't fool with to ask questions about me, and then hit me weeks later to tell me you're going to challenge one of my takes. You're a phony, bruh. One of the worst teammates I've ever had, both on the field and in TV. You got to do what you got to do. I didn't attack your wife. I spoke on what you do on social media and TV, like I said. I met your wife, and she seemed like a lovely lady that was worth more than the color of her skin. You be good, bro. So now Stephen A. Smith weighed in on the action, and he weighed on this altercation and beef between Ryan Clark and RG3 over the Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark incident. And let's take a listen to what Stephen A. Smith said. Now take a listen. Roll the footage. Now take a listen. Roll the footage.
RG3 clearly is not liked by Ryan Clark. What Ryan Clark said, that's not something he normally does. Corny, phony, those are the kind of things he said specifically about RG3. That's what he feels. Saving him on Monday Night Football, I assume, and it is an assumption, that he's talking about the shrapnel of criticism that folks tried to throw in RG3's direction that he tried to assist in shielding RG3 from. But nevertheless, there's a lot to get into here, is this. RG3, I'm not as tight with him as I am with Ryan Clark, but I respect RG3. And I do know there's some sensitivities there, dating back to the days of, you know, when he was called the cornball, and obviously by one of our former colleagues, Rob Park, on national television. And RG3 admitted with his interview of me on his podcast that that's something that has stayed with him all of these years, and he felt that it has served to have damaged him. So there's certainly a heightened level of sensitivity there, and I understand where RG3 is coming from. I don't consider RG3 a bad dude. Again, just because I'm tight with Ryan Clark doesn't mean that I don't respect RG3 and we don't have a cool relationship, because we do. We might have had disagreements over subject matters we discussed in the past. We might have viewed things differently, but I respect RG3. I like him. I appreciated the job that he did on First Take. And personally speaking, I wish he was still at ESPN, which is what I said on this podcast. But what I want to address directly to RG3 is this. Number one, how do you know Angel Reese was going to sucker punch Caitlin Clark? What do you mean we haven't seen stuff like this before? We've seen plenty of times where somebody will get knocked to the ground and then they jump up like they're going to do something and get in one another's face without punches being thrown. You didn't know that Angel Reese was going to sucker punch Caitlin Clark. You have no evidence of that. You could have said it looked that way, but to literally declare that that's what Angel Reese was going to do, that's not factually accurate. So RG3, I think it's important to point that out, because by saying what you said about Angel Reese, that was serving to villainize her in a way that would get a reaction from a black man like Ryan Clark, along with various others, including myself, who didn't want to jump to that conclusion.
Now, you heard what Stephen A. said in this first piece, and he was addressing RG3 because RG3 said that Angel Reese looked like an angry black woman, and she was getting up as she was going to sucker punch Caitlin Clark. And if she would have sucker punched Caitlin Clark, that'd have been the last basketball game y'all would ever seen Angel Reese play. That's what RG3 said on record. He painted Angel Reese as an angry black woman. And Stephen A. Smith alluded to it, that guys like himself and Ryan Clark were going to stand up and protect Angel Reese in this instance. Now, Stephen A. Smith addressed what RG3 said about Ryan Clark attacking his family. And you won't believe what Stephen A. Smith had to say about this. Let's take a listen. Let's take a listen.
RG3, he never attacked your wife. He never attacked your family. He was attacking you, and you know it. Now, that don't make it correct, the mentioning of your wife. I'll concede that. He didn't utter a negative syllable about your wife. He never mentioned your children. So when you say attacking your wife and attacking your family, your children, how did he do that? Ryan Clark did not do that. He talked about you and your behavior. He talked about how you lean towards highlighting her ethnicity. I know what he said. And what he was saying was that. And he was saying she was much more than the color of her skin. He did in no way denigrate your wife. And he never mentioned your children. Not with what I saw. If anybody out there has an additional clip where you can point to RC attacking or denigrating the wife of Robert Griffin III or his children, show it to me. I didn't see that, RG3. I didn't see that. And why am I bringing that up? Because this is where it comes home, meaning to ESPN, where you worked for years. When you sat up there and you said it's a bad look for ESPN, I guess it's within your right to hit back at RC since you felt hit at yourself. But as somebody who works for ESPN, come on, bro. You know that was some slick shit you was doing, right? Because when you said it's a bad look for ESPN, you know that we work at a place where ESPN's gonna be like, what's he talking about? What's a bad look for ESPN? You didn't have to go there. That's between you and Ryan. Ryan said that on the pivot. Ryan shows up on Get Up. Ryan shows up on First Take. Ryan shows up on NFL Live. Ryan contributes to Monday Night Football. He never mentioned you on any of those places. Why on his podcast, on a spot that he owns and operates, would you ignore that to bring up ESPN? Because you were trying to get him in trouble with ESPN. You looking to ESPN for help to try and reprimand him when you should have handled that your own damn self. And I'm talking to you out of respect. I don't hate you, bro. I don't have no any animosity towards you. I said for public consumption. If it was up to me, you'd still be at ESPN. I thought you did a damn good job for various shows. Maybe not Monday Night Football because that's a team. And if y'all had vitriol, which is evidently true, with one another, that's not a pairing that works. I get that part. But there's a multitude of other outlets that you contributed to on ESPN, and I would have been happy to still see you there. Them letting you go, downsizing and all of that stuff, that's above my pay grade. I got nothing to do with that. And I'm not here to question my bosses any more than y'all question them when they let me go in 2009. That's the way it goes sometimes, particularly when you downsize it, monitoring your budget, your expenditures, and you're making decisions as to what's in the best interest and what's not in the best interest of a network. That's business.
Man, y'all heard what Stephen A. Smith said. Now, you know, here on this channel, we don't agree with a lot of things that Stephen A. Smith says or that he does. In this particular instance, he himself scolded RG3 and ripped him a new asshole just like Ryan Clark ripped him a new asshole. And you got RG3 on his platform playing victim. And he's been called out, been exposed. Stephen A. Smith completely buried him. And it seems like RG3 was trying to get attention and they just shut him down. Stephen A. Smith spoke nothing but facts in this one. Ryan Clark spoke nothing but facts. And that's what I told y'all. When it comes to anything that's dealing with Angel Reese and it has anything to deal with Caitlin Clark, with them two together, they always try to paint a narrative and paint Angel Reese to be this angry black woman. Guys, got to stop it. Got to stop it. I see everybody in the comment section, #salute. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, turn your post notifications on so you know every time Simply Ball drops another hot banger, just in case I forgot. Tell a friend to tell a friend. It might not be for you, but it might be for them. And that's going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap. We're going to catch you on the next one. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
That's all, folks.